Hey everybody, I'm Scott with Starkey Family Fixing Rigging Up. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit your like and subscribe button and make sure you got your notifications turned on. That way you get notified when I put out my next video. Now, I've been taking in some side work recently, and this is one of them that I'm going to do today. This is a 2016 Hyundai Accent. We're going to do an oil change on it. So, let's get to it. This right here was the oil in the filter that the customer brought to me. When I looked it up, the car is supposed to take 3.8 liters of oil. And then as for the filter, this is a pH 9688. And it does have the coating on the top. That way it's not going to be really slick, so that's good. Now, I do want to make a side note on here that the customer did bring me the oil. And do you see this weight right here? 0 weight 20. That's actually not what the car calls for. Now, I'm not going to have a big issue with it because it's been, pretty cold right now. But the car recommendation is actually 5 weight 20. So basically, when the car is cold, it's going to be a 0 weight. After it's warmed up, it'll be a 20 weight. Whereas normally it's supposed to have a 5 weight and then 20 weight when it's warm. So I do want to let you know that if you do buy oil, make sure you buy the right one. But like I said, where it's cold out right now, I have no problem using this. This is normally just a recommendation from the manufacturer. If you look in your owner's manual on about any car out there, if you live in a extremely cold climate or extremely hot climate, whatever the car actually says on it may differ from what the actual owner's manual actually recommends. So it's just all on the climate that you're in. But being as I'm in Ohio and it's like really cold and it's still going to be cold for the next month or so, I have no problem. So just wanted to let you know on that. So let's raise the hood and see what we got under. So what we have is a 1.6 liter gasoline direct injection engine. This is a 4-cylinder. And it's pretty dirty. So we're going to have to address that too, because I do not like dirty, filthy engines. So we're going to have to, I won't let this leave like this. So we're going to power wash that off too. And right off the bat, I just see a problem here. You see this battery terminal here? That looks pretty nasty. Yeah, check that out. That is some major fungus growth. So we're going to have to pull that apart, and I'm sure that one here is nasty too, underneath the cover. But I'm not going to let this leave like that either. Even though I'm only supposed to be doing an oil change, I don't believe in letting people drive out like this. This is just a problem that's going to cause somebody to break down. So before you ever drain the oil or do anything, the first thing that you want to do when you're checking the oil on a customer's car is you want to pull the dipstick tube out of it and document what you actually see. If the oil level's full, if it's low, if it's burnt, or if it's discolored, meaning it may have antifreeze in it, like a blown head gasket or such. And this is why. So this right here is where the level's supposed to be. See this top line right here? Do you see any oil? No oil until you get down to the very bottom. This right here will safeguard you, because what will happen is the wrong person will take advantage of you. And if their car is burning oil, for example, they will say, oh, such and such didn't put enough oil in my vehicle and it blew up. Or I went to check the oil and it was low on oil, so I wouldn't trust them again. You'd never want to destroy your name. So make sure you do that. So I did want to make a note. I forgot to tell you guys that when you're jacking up a car, make sure you block the tires up. Okay, that is very important. And it's a good idea to set the parking brake also. So I want to show you the proper place to actually put your jack and jack stands and stuff. This right here is metal. That's where you put your jack at. It's safe to put your jack right here. This is metal. This will help support. Now, as for your jack stand, while you've got the car actually supported right here, you see this plate right here? This is part of your subframe area. That's where you put your jack stand at. Now, it looks like, you know, the jack stand is real far in there, but actually it's really not that far at all. So, just give you an idea. Right there's the tire. So it's just right behind the tire. These are safe places to actually jack the car up. So let's go ahead and get the oil filter ready. So we're going to take this box, turn everything inside on it, put the filter in it. This keeps the filter from actually falling over while you're doing anything. Now, depending on how your car is actually set up, we're doing a Hyundai today, so the oil filter is going to go straight up. Sometimes the oil filters are at an angle to where you can't put oil in them because they'll just drain out. So I want to just show you what you do. And this is just, I just poured a little bit of motor oil in here. But you see this O-ring right here? This is very, very important. If you do not put oil on this O-ring, this filter may not get tight enough, for one, and for two, this O-ring may end up burning onto your oil housing. So what will happen is when you go to take your filter off of it, this O-ring may be burnt up to it. So the next filter you pull off, if you're not paying attention, the O-ring can be stuck up in there, and then you got to scrape it off. So instead of having a pain, there you go. And make sure you do the threads right here too. That makes it screw on a little bit easier. Now in our case, the oil filter goes up straight, so we can actually prime everything really good. So we are going to fill the oil filter with oil. Okay, that's plenty. So the reason why we're doing this is, I know a lot of manufacturers say not to do this because they're worried about particles falling in. In the real world, what they're actually, I think what they're actually really concerned about is, if you do enough dry startups, it's going to start really wearing the bearings and everything out on your engine, and then you'll have to buy another car. So let's keep the manufacturers going by not putting oil in the oil filters. That's brilliant. So on your startup, do you want to have air bubbles go through everything, or do you want to have oil? I'm going to tell you to put oil inside of the oil filter. That way it primes right up. You do whatever you want. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. If you do agree with me, that's fine. So we're underneath the engine right now. This right here is actually the drain plug. All we're going to do now is just loosen this up. Now, Hyundais are Korean cars, so you're going to use metric tools on them. This takes a 17 millimeter on the drain plug. So let's get it loosened up. Wow. Whoever put that on believed on over tightening. Wow. Gee whiz. That was terrible. Okay, now that it's loosened up, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get the drain pan and bring it up under here. Before we actually start with that, right over here is the oil filter. So let me get the camera repositioned so you can see that. So what I'm actually going to use is a strap wrench to get up here and retrieve this filter, because it's not very practical to actually remove it using your hands. You probably could, but I'm just going to tell you, it may not be as easy as what you think. Okay, so it is broken free. So now, I'm going to pull the drain pan up underneath of it and start loosening it up with my hand, since I've actually untightened it. When you pull off this filter, make sure that there's no O-ring is on there. So this right here is what that housing is actually going to look like. You see that up in there? So basically what you're going to do is see the round ring of oil on there? Well, that right there is where the seal actually goes against the flat section of the oil housing. That seal is everything that keeps the oil in place. That way it's not going to spray out on top of the oil filter. Now, as for the oil filter itself, it does have the ring on it, as you can see. And I will tell you, this filter is kind of heavy, so it's been a while since it's had an oil change. So now what we're going to do is, we're going to get up in here with a rag, and we're going to wipe this housing off. Get all the junk out of there, off. Make sure it's all clean. Then we are going to grab the new oil filter that I put oil in, and we are going to screw it up in there. Now that we got the filter up in there, we need to tighten it up because of the way this is set up in there. I can't really get it in there too good because of the plastic and the metal to tighten this up. So what we're going to do is we're going to use my strap wrench to actually tighten up the filter. Not the finest place, but I will have to admit it's not the worst place I've actually had to change an oil filter at in my life. So you don't want to over tighten it, but the filter does need to be on there. I'd say that's good enough. So now at this point what we're going to do is we're going to drain the actual motor oil. Hopefully I don't get soaked with this. Yay! So we're going to let that drain. I normally like letting the oil drain. That way everything from the bottom literally comes out. If you don't want to let it go that long, you don't have to. But that actually gives me a chance to clean up any messes that I might have. So we'll come right back to this. So this right here is where you actually put the oil in. But what we're going to do is, because of the video, you don't have to, but I'm going to show you this a little bit better. We're going to take this little cover off of here. And all it does is it just pops off. Maybe not the best, but it does come off. So this is what the overhead view is. Pretty small engine. Right here's your cap that you would remove. So we're just going to leave that off for right now. So at this point, go ahead and put the drain plug back in. and tighten up. Now you can go ahead and wipe off any oil that's dripping. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the car off the jack stands and put the car back flat on the ground. That way we can put the oil in and then check the oil level. So since we know that the car is using a little bit of oil, instead of going for like 3.8, I'm going to go for 4 liters. So I'm using a 1 gallon jug, and at the side of it there is a measurement. But you can see right here, so you can see right here when the level goes down, 1 quart, 2 quart, 3 quart, so on. I got about 1 more quart to go. Okay, that should be plenty of oil inside of there. So let me go ahead and put the cap back on, and we will get this started up. Now, when you are changing oil on any type of vehicle and you're replacing the filter, you have to start the car up, start whatever you're doing up. After you get the oil in, let it run for a minute, then shut it off, give the oil time to drain back down, and then recheck it. That gets all the oil out of the system. Any extra oil that's going to go into the filter, you saw how we put oil in it before. I can't put 100% oil in there, so there is going to be some air. That needs to be pushed out of there also. So after starting it, letting it run a minute, shutting it off, then you can accurately check the oil on the vehicle. That is a pretty quiet engine altogether. Okay, so that should be plenty enough running time. So let's go ahead and turn the engine off and give it about the same amount of time to let the oil drain back down into the oil pan. Okay, wipe it off the first time because that would not give you a correct reading. So right there's the full line, and it's just a hair over, and that's exactly where I wanted it at, just because this car is using oil. So I got right at 4 quarts, or it's pretty close. 4 liters, 4 quarts, it's about the same thing on a low scale. So now what we're going to do is we're going to attend to the issue of the terminal on the battery. So first things are first, before I get any tools on that, we need to clean that off just a little bit. There, that's a little bit better, isn't it? Now we can actually get a socket on there. This is going to be a 10 millimeter socket. And that is like really, really tight on there. That is corroded like super, super tight on there. This is definitely the worst case I've come across in a good while. We're just tapping lightly. Wow, that thing is like really rotted on there. What I'm doing is I'm putting some alcohol in here. That's actually helping to get that corrosion off of there. Yeah, this thing's like pretty nasty, so we need to attend to that. We'll make sure you get this cleaned up really super good. Well, not forget about the actual terminal. The alcohol really knocks this stuff out good. Now, don't forget though, alcohol is flammable. So before you go hooking stuff up, you want to make sure that it's not going to make contact, because there is a chance of a fire. But basically what we're doing is we are actually purifying everything. What that corrosion actually is it's like a fungus that just kind of, or an infection that just kind of eats metal to pieces. If it's left for a long period of time, it just destroys everything around it. That looks much better. A lot better. A little bit tighter. This is getting all that junk from the inside here. A lot of corrosion inside there. Wow. Now, if any of you've ever had problems with like headlights dimming or kind of pulsating going down the road, brake lights, running lights, anything like that, stupid glitches, it could actually even be coming through your radio as a weird, staticky noise. This right here can actually be your culprit. And I'll tell you why. You may not realize it. The whole time this is on there with that corrosion, you're having little arcs that are going around in there. And it's creating an electric field that is just kind of sparking around in there. It's not a good connection, but it's just barely hanging in there. Now, what would have happened if I wouldn't have cleaned this out? All just kind of rotted out. And then this whole terminal would have to be replaced. Which, judging from it, looks a little bit expensive to me. I was actually going to spray a coating on top of this that's meant for batteries, but I just looked and apparently I'm out of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the next best thing. I'm just going to use some electrical grease and put this back together. Kind of help seal this up a little bit. Hopefully we don't have this problem anymore. Because I really don't think the owner of this car would be happy to get stranded. So let's check the positive cable out. The positive cable looks perfectly fine. So I am going to still rinse it off a little bit. It's a little bit dusty, but there's no corrosion in there. That's good. That's just what I want to check. Now, the customer did not pick up an air filter, But I am going to check it and just let them know if it does need replaced or not. I don't know. What do you think? That's pretty nasty. I'm going to at least try to blow this out real quick. Wow, look at all that junk down in there. So what I got is my blowgun that's attached to my air compressor. Now I'm going to blow the air filter out. And I'm not going to do it here because they'll just put all the stuff right back there. It looks better. I did blow it out. Now I will tell the customer next time they go and decide to have me do an oil change on the car, go ahead and pick up an air filter for it. You saw how much stuff is in there. Like I said, I blew up most of this, but what you don't see is embedded inside of it. And the filter does weigh a little bit, but not much I can actually do, unfortunately. So I will let them know that they do need to get one next time. And this is held on by a couple clips, so it's nothing major. Make sure you do all the rims and tires also. Okay, so I've washed the whole car in about 5 minutes. Now the only thing we gotta do is just rinse it off. And this is how you keep customers coming back to you. They bring it in for an oil change and they get the forward 9 yards. I'm Scott with Starkey Family, Fixing Rigging Up. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you've learned something. Now I want to make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and make sure you got the notifications turned on. That way you can see my next videos. Now I know sometimes that people think, well, you're doing overkill and things. If you're wanting to have customers come to your business so you can make extra money, the best way to do this is to make them happy. Not just do the job that it calls for. At least throw something extra in there. This right here, I mean, altogether, by the time I washed it, brushed it, and rinsed it, you know, maybe about 10 minutes or so, the customer's going to be very happy and they're going to come back. And I've made money on it and the customer's happy. And then they'll tell someone what kind of job you did, and then you'll get another customer, you'll get another customer. Before you know it, you're doing really good. So I'm going to leave you guys with this. Y'all take care and have a good one. I'll see you guys in the next video.